So the configurations this summer are quite interesting because they harken back to a period in mid-1960s, a period in the summer of love, as well as the summer of 2026 that's upcoming, but plus an additional connection here to summer 2023. So I want to talk about the astrology of collective love-ins, you might say, or this kind of collective, energized, passionate thing that we may be seeing here this summer in this decade. Stay tuned. All right, welcome here. Great to see you. This is S.J. Anderson. Welcome to my channel. I talk about the ongoing astrology here. You can check out my videos, try to release as many as I can. And this was something I'd stumbled on Twitter. It was very interesting to see this discussion of the year 1967 and the summer of 1967. And so I just pull up a chart because I'm keenly tapped into right now the Saturn-Jupiter cycle for all types of mundane predictions. You know, W. Gann used it for stock market predictions, but I've seen it to be very appropriate for predicting mundane events and resonances, and that's because Saturn and Jupiter are in the same signs every 59 years. And so there's this cycle of about 6 decades where you can tap into similar energetics, which puts this decade at the 1960s. And so we've been kind of living out the 1960s in some ways. You saw that at the beginning of the decades, a major crisis that was a collective crisis that then kind of shifted reality into these new explosions of creativity. And so we're still early into that process. But we have COVID, now we're into this kind of AI renaissance and the creative renaissance that comes with that. The internet, the way social media is so important, the way you can speak to anybody like right now and then send it out to the whole world. I mean, it's a really powerfully creative time, if you ask me. And I think it's building. I think we're building into some of these resonances that I'm going to break down in this video. But the short summary is, yes, Venus retrograde in Leo, and then Jupiter and Saturn in Aries, Leo, are these 2 points that we're going to examine here and just try to dig into some of these resonances. So let's just jump right in. So first point, I just want to come to Andre Barbault, and let's remind everybody who Andre Barbault is. You can look at the video I did with Dan Waits on World Astrology Report. We break down who was the man that predicted the pandemic. That's Andre Barbault. I think that's the title of the video. But what does he say? What does Andre Barbault say about 2026? And this is the structure that this whole video will be contained in. Barbault says that the New World civilization, whose beginnings appeared around the year 2000, is taking off here. This entry into the second quarter of the century bears the stamp of the achievement of the new age of humanity. The central and harmonic position of the Saturn-Neptune conjunction, that's in Aries, is above all expressive of the promotion of the lower strata of the world population, and a significant rise in the standard of living of the underprivileged, of a victory over the poverty won in solidarity without previous, and this quote cuts off. But the main idea is that his work, his astrological work, he was deep into this his whole life, had a long astrological career, innovated a bunch of mundane techniques, but particularly this outer planet measurement system that he develops. He says summer 2026 and Saturn in Aries and will be this, flowering of a new civilization. Let's see how this summer ties into this, because I think it does, and that's what I'm going to argue here in the video, that we're well into this flowering, you might say, of the New World civilization. And one of the themes, I think, that will be important is this kind of collective love, this collective oneness. All beings contained in this kind of loving grace of this, higher mind, you might say, or I think about it as the divine oneness of all beings. You find it in all sorts of spiritual traditions, including the Gnostic tradition or the Advaita Vedanta tradition and the yogic philosophies. I've studied those. You find it in things like the Islamic tradition has these similar ideas of the oneness of divinity. This kind of cross-religious cultural idea that we're contained in this collective oneness. And to me, this is what any kind of New World civilization would have to center. That I am you, you are me, we are the same. And we have to treat each other with love and respect. So the Venus retrograde story in Leo is a major story now because Venus is in Leo. It's been in Leo since 5 June 2023. And it's a major story this summer. I mean, Venus is not even retrograde yet. It's getting closer and closer to that retrograde station. That retrograde station happens now less than a month from where I sit here, 29 June. The station retrograde of Venus happens 23 July. And then Venus will go backwards. I think it's 13 August. It's the inferior conjunction, that rebirth of Venus. And then the direct station 3-4 September. Venus finally leaving Leo. I think it's 9 October. So you get this story that we've been in and that we're now in, and we're deeply in, and we're getting deeper into it. But think about these deeper themes, namely that of love and collective passion and love for all beings. I mean, these would just be simple delineations of Venus, planet of love and unity and oneness and connection and togetherness and beauty and sort of celebration and hope, in the fire sign of that fixed fire sign, right? The unity, the kind of core truth that we're all connected. So it's at a basic delineation, Venus in Leo gets us to what I want to talk about here, but we're going to go much deeper. And yes, let's start with the dates. I just went through them when I was talking about the last slide. I'll often do this. I'll write these videos, but then I start remembering things and just going off the top of my head. Well, here's the dates exactly. We're deep into the story now. It was 5 June. Let's see. Venus meets the sun 13 August. I was right about that. Venus then will station direct. I don't have that date here, but it leaves 9 October. So I was correct there about the date as well. I'm in this all the time with clients, so I have these dates pretty well memorized by now. Look where the sun is going to enter Leo on 23 July, and the sun and Venus will be together in Leo for that whole month of Leo season, 23 July through 23 August. And that's key. I want to think about the sun and Venus together in Leo, because they both symbolically are calling this theme forward of sort of the core nature of reality is love, and the sort of collective and individual component to that. They almost contract that each individual has with the larger unity to embody oneness and embody love. But just to look at this astrology, Venus is reborn and then it goes to Virgo, but then Venus comes into Libra. And this is not really connected to the theme of this video, but I'll say it here. 8 November 2023, when Venus enters Libra, I think that really is when things get powerful again. After this rebirth of Venus, it's in its own domicile for the first time in a while, having been purified by the sun. And so we can look to November for a lot of the Venusian to take hold. And so this first eclipse in Libra, by the time Venus gets there, there's this settlement and this kind of rudder that emerges, I think, with all of our Libra eclipse story. And also keep in mind, it's July 2nd, which would be 3 days from now, because I published this tweet, I think, 2 days ago. That's when Venus and Mars cease to apply. So right now, Venus is getting closer and closer to Mars and Leo, but then it stops on July 2nd, and it begins separating from Mars. That is to say, Mars gets faster than Venus, because Venus is slowing down. And it's then that whatever you've been managing or working through since 5 June, whatever those facts have been, for some of you, this is going to be very clear. For others, you might not have as clear of a sense, but there may have been some kind of relational drama or relational tension or relational heat, fire, passion that emerges here in early June. But by now, as Venus begins separating from Mars, you might see some of those stories begin to sort of disintegrate into the Venus retrograde story. So less passion, separation, less closeness, blocks, delays. And it's a wonderful time for turning inward and processing and reviewing. All retrogrades are, but particularly Venus retrogrades, reviewing relationships from the past. Hey, and you might find an ex comes back. It's classic Venus retrograde too. Look for it on that station, 23 July. I had one time out of nowhere, the day of the station, I get the email, the long lost ex Facebook messaged me. It was quite striking, and one of those very important astrology is real moments for me. It's 10 July that Mars will leave Leo. By then, we're really into this kind of pure Venus in Leo without Mars triggering Venus. And then it's 23 July, Venus stations and starts moving backwards. So just for the timing, we get deeper into this review period. And those are the dates that I think are very important. But coming up here very soon, 3 days, I'm going to try to release this today. So you'll have 2 or 3 days if you're watching this to feel into that 2nd July separation of Mars and Venus moment. Okay, so here's 2 charts from this summer I want to key you into. This is Venus joining the Sun, 13 August, like we already said. You can look at it there, right in the 21st degree of Leo they meet. What's up with this chart? I love how it's squaring Jupiter. That's beautiful. I love how this is an aversion to the Saturn-Mars opposition story that's going down here starting on 10 July until late August. That's a tough one, and for mutables, but you get the purification of Venus and this beautiful benefic encased fixed axis that runs concomitant with the opposition of Mars and Saturn. So it's kind of this beautiful summer where one axis, one part of the chart has so much benefic renewal, and then the other part has this first mutable kind of thrusting mutability into this tension. Actually, it'd be the second time. Mars was in Gemini for that middle part of March. So we get to return to some of that middle March set of stories now with Mars and mutability. I'm going to have videos breaking all this stuff down, by the way, so look out for those. But the point here is that that's a beautiful inferior conjunction with Leo chart, and it really does set up and make prominent this fixed axis. You also have the moon, ruler of Taurus exaltation, so strong in Cancer. I just love that. The night triplicity lord of Leo is Jupiter, ruled by that moon. And there's just some lovely stuff happening here in spite of the Mars-Saturn opposition. What's the other chart I have here? 16 August 2023. Oh, this is the new moon in Leo. This might also be really important for the rebirth of Venus, because there's a lunation cycle that is born then with the new moon syzygy right there, just days after Venus is purified. And so look for that to be, more of what I'm about to describe, which is this theme of connection, love, and togetherness, which is what this video is about. I'm going to do a whole nother video about Venus retrograde. This is more about this idea of this kind of collective oneness that I think transits like these here, mid-August. Look for stories that can key you in. Hey, look, this is what this world civilization that's being built is going to be about. This is the love that all beings have for each other, and that we can sort of unite collectively in spite of all the stuff that's going on, the challenge and obstacle. The human spirit and human beings are so powerfully beautiful, so creative, and so special. I love humans in spite of our foibles and flaws. I love human beings. I love everything about the depth of sensitivity and emotion and character and love. We're love generating machines, and we produce love and give it to each other. There's nothing like it. It's the most wonderful, sweet thing. And I'm not talking about erotic here, though that's important and certainly nothing like that. I'm talking about the deep and profound love of your fellow being, and how we unite together when there's trial. We just put down our problems and go help each other. We serve each other. We love each other. We cook for each other. All of these sort of beautiful ways in which we love. I think this pocket of time, mid-August, we can see emergences that are tapping into those themes. So where's this coming from? I want to come to the chakra system. I want to come to the planetary correspondence system as it relates to the chakras. Now you might be saying, well, hey, SJ, you're not a Vedic scholar or anything like that. No, I'm a certified yoga teacher, so I've done some training in the Sanskrit and read some of those texts, and I'm an astrologer. So I've studied some Vedic astrology. So I am, somewhat qualified to at least point out these connections. I'm not trying to go very much deeper than just to say, in some of the chakra correspondence systems, the sun is the heart center. The sun would be assigned to the Anahata chakra, that heart chakra, color green. And in other systems, you have, and these are the more common systems, the one here on the right, from a website called astralis.it, an Italian website. But the heart center is connected to Venus, harmony, love. So either way, in these most common assignations for the chakras to the planets, you have Sun-Venus. It's a Sun-Venus heart center connection. And that's what Venus in Leo is. It's a Venus ruled by the sun, then with the sun at the inferior conjunction. So there's something deeply powerful here about the heart, opening this heart with your Venus retrograde story. Let's say a relationship kind of cools down, and then you're in a more reviews or a waiting phase with a relationship. You can love yourself, love the people around you. Hey, love that person if there's drama, just send them love. That doesn't mean you have to connect with them if like you're in no contact or something, but we can love no matter what, and then we can behave with the boundaries and the healthy choices we need to make. But the love is so healing and can be always an element that helps the situation, in my opinion. And then here's the write-up from nancyprivet.com. She has an article on planets and chakras, and this is, again, the heart center and the sun. She writes, the astrological sun and the heart center have much in common. They both regenerate, they both ripen, they both encourage growth. The heart center and the sun are both life-giving energies that illuminate from a divine perspective and radiate light so you can really see. In astrology, the sun awakens an awareness of the soul, just as the heart center opens the door for your earthbound consciousness to remember the non-physical aspect of your being, which is always connected to a powerful source. And you see in astrology, in Hellenistic astrology, the sun is God, right? It rejoices in the house of God. The sun is the consciousness, the light of consciousness. The sun is also, all the way back in Hellenistic texts, when you go to Zodiac Man, and this is not from Nancy Privet's article, but this is from another website. It's a public domain image. This goes all the way back into the sources, the most ancient sources we have. Leo corresponds to the heart, and you can see it here, it draws a string right to the heart. This is all the way back. The Leo is the heart. So we have Venus in Leo, the sun in Leo, the higher consciousness in God, Venus, the planet of unity and connectivity and love, in the sign Leo of the heart and the heart center and the heart chakra, you can see how the zodiacal and planetary symbols are showing us at some symbolic level that we need to think about opening up our hearts. I just love what she says here, the non-physical aspect of your being, right? The light of consciousness, Vedius Valens, what is it? The sun is the consciousness of being, something like that. I don't have the exact translation memorized right now, but this powerful solar source of so many religions worship the sun. It's solar worship. The sun is the life-giving force of everything. And we have these symbols connected right to it this summer. All right, so how does this relate to some of the mundane cycles that I'm following? Well, let's start 1967, Summer of Love. My dad always told me when he was a kid, he went to San Francisco. It was after the Summer of Love. He didn't make it in 67, but this was such a big event that it then percolated into the consciousness and people kept coming to San Francisco even in the years after. I think he was there in the late, maybe 69, 70. He finally got there, something like this. But there's songs written about the Summer of Love. Tim Leary was hanging around. I just read an article about it because I'm doing some research on it, that there was a lot of entrepreneurs that descended here when 100,000 people came to San Francisco. Many young people, this is from Wikipedia, sporting hippie fashions of dress and behavior. And they went to Haight-Ashbury, and it's termed the Summer of Love. But look at this, August 1967. Look where the lunar nodes are. They're in the early degrees of Scorpio, Taurus, with the North Node in Taurus. Like this year, our lunar nodes are right in the same position right now. But look where Venus and the Sun are. So you had the Sun-Venus retrograde. This is the Venus star point that matches this summer, summer 2023. So we have both the nodes in the same part of the zodiac, and Taurus ruled by Venus. Again, it's about love. The nodes then shift during the Summer of Love into Libra Aries, again ruled by Venus. It's the power of the nodes to have these symbolic messages for our collective. When you have Venus-ruled nodes, you're talking about collective love, and it manifested very, very well here, Summer of Love, 1967. You also had Jupiter in fixed signs. So in this chart, Jupiter was in Leo. Our Summer of Love this summer, you might say, is you get Jupiter in Taurus, ruled by that Venus in Leo. So again, Jupiter's connected to Leo vis-a-vis planetary rulership. But the Venus star point cycle slowly moves backward in the zodiac every 8 years. And the inferior conjunction in 67 happened in Virgo, not in Leo, but Venus stationed direct in Leo. So this was part of that same 8-year cycle. It was this one in 1967, which is in 2023, it's a multiple of 8. What is that? It's 56 years. So we're coming up on the 56th year anniversary this summer of 1967. Divisible by 8, so we know it's a Venus star point resonance. And then the other thing I'll just point out, you saw this Summer of Love, Saturn was trine Jupiter. You see that, Saturn in Aries, trine Jupiter in Leo, whereas our summer now, it's a Saturn-Jupiter sextile. So Saturn and Jupiter are also in a supportive configuration this summer with the same Venus star point in the same lunar node position. I think there's something about the Summer of Love this summer. Where's your love? Where are you expressing this collective love? Are you adding or trying to love the collective in some way, shape, or form? You might just want to add doses of this mentality into your viewpoint or consciousness. I think it could help you maybe function, or just maybe it'll change your feeling here this summer and kind of see how important what we're ensconced in, the larger container of our individual selves, is, and how you have a role to play. We all do. And so just keep that in mind. And it may be the art that you're going to make. You may be making some art this summer, sharing your passions. This chart has a lot of fire, but it's still something where we have this time of Venus in Leo, Sun in Leo, sharing your unique creative gifts. This is what gave me the whole video idea, which is that I saw a tweet about the Beatles and this song, All You Need Is Love. And we just hit the 56-year anniversary of this event, the live performance of All You Need Is Love. And you can see it here. It was the 23 through 26 June 1967. That was when it was recorded live and went out, the first worldwide broadcast in history, when the Beatles recorded this song live, and then it was released as a song later. Same Venus star point cycle. You can see in this chart, Venus was in Leo with Jupiter, just like now Venus is in Leo ruling Jupiter, and they're in that mutual reception, night triplicity to domicile. So that's the beautiful thing about what's resonant here in 1967. I like this chart too, because you have the Sun and Mercury in Cancer, just like now as I'm recording it, with Venus sort of late in its phase, getting ready to station. a month within stationing, just like we are now. So this has a lot of resonance, this live Beatles performance, to the moment we're in, actually quite right now, astrologically, more so than later. But these are energies that last all summer, you know, I mean, it's not just going to go away. Jupiter doesn't change signs, Venus doesn't change signs, Saturn doesn't change signs at all. We're in this energy now. It's just that nodal shift, which was also about to happen in this chart in 1967, as I've already said. Same nodal cycle as this summer. So all you need is love. Go put that song on. Actually, go watch the YouTube video. They have the live performance. It's just a beautiful energy. It's so much Leo and Venus and Leo with Jupiter. It's like celebrating the joy and passion of God and of this sort of collective oneness. All you need is love. Love is all you need. And here's the tweet. It was from the Beatles Twitter account, which I follow. And it was on this day in 1967. Our World is what it was called. That was the program it aired. The first worldwide satellite broadcast ever attempted, generating the biggest TV audience in history to that date. So you can see how this collective oneness moment, this was really a new world emerging. It was the new world of mass media, the new world of global mass media interactivity, the world of the rock star that was the global icon, the world of pop music and rock and roll and this kind of arty, creative mass media, a cesspool of confusion. I think I used that in Twitter this week, or the beauty of it and how we're all connected on this globe. All beings everywhere deserve love and respect and are connected. I believe, again, going back to that Advaita Vedanta core idea, and that core idea from Islam, or that core idea from Gnosticism, or whatever space you want to pull from, there's this idea of this sort of highest level divinity that is the oneness that we're all in. And this is expressed here 56 years ago. We're primed for that expression again. June 2023, summer 2023. It's perfect astrological resonance for this. All right, and finally I want to say, it's not just summer 2023. This is actually, I believe, this is just an entree. This is just a first or second course of a larger meal of this collective oneness of kind of loving collective that we're going to be able to create here in mid-decade. I do believe we can sort of co-create this beautiful collective reality. We have the best tools we've ever had to reach out and connect with like-minded people, to help people, all of that. And I want to come back to Barbault and close the video on Barbault. Here's the basket. Okay, this is the configuration. I named the basket. Dan and I did a whole video about Barbault. We talk about the basket in depth. Actually, the whole series we did together, the astrology, the 2020s on World Astrology Report, his channel. This is the purpose of that, all 4 videos. This is the basket coming. What is it telling us about this decade? Well, part of the basket, and we didn't talk about this in the videos actually, but not very much. We alluded to it. Dan's more into outer planets than I am. I'm more into traditional planets. But look at the basket. Look at the component of the basket. It's Jupiter in Leo, Saturn in Aries, just like the summer of love. We looked at those charts of the Beatles releasing and recording All You Need Is Love. The summer of love had Saturn in Aries, weakened Saturn, right? It's weakened. The prison gets weak, and the prison actually relies on individual energies. That's Aries. So you turn down Saturn and you turn up Jupiter and Leo, which is the light of the beautiful human individual shining. But these 2 planets are the great planets. And so it's this collective energy about the shining, the beautiful human light in a way where we're all interconnected and we're less imprisoned and more sort of radiating our beauty to each other. That's how I'm delineating this part of the basket. And this comes 10 July 2026. It's the moment that all of these configurations are applying, all of them. All of the 5 Barbault outer planets are in application phases. Pretty soon after this, some of them begin separating, but it's early July 2026. So we're prepping for this major transit, one of the most important transits of the decade. And one component of it, the Jupiter-Saturn cycle, speaks exactly to that beautiful summer of love and that first worldwide broadcast, All You Need Is Love. So put some of this energy into your juice, you might say, or into what you're imbibing, because I think we'll have a chance to embrace this and everybody's going to play a role. And then just to close on Barbault again, hints of the New World Civilization, right? The New World Civilization, whose beginnings appeared around the year 2000, that's the rise of the internet, is taking off here. And what he's talking about is 2026, when the Saturn, Neptune, and Aries, which is finding max application of the Barbault outer planets, but it includes that Jupiter in Leo. Remember, we just delineated Leo. It's all about Venus and the Sun and the heart center and the radiation of godly heart-centered connectivity and unity and oneness. That is applied here as a part of this beautiful astrology that Andre Barbault said and predicted this would be the New World civilization taking off. So all you need is love. Love is all you need. Think about it now, because it's building this summer with all of the transits this summer, pinging the summer of love, but really setting us up for that beautiful Jupiter and Saturn resonance with the summer of love. Okay, that's it. I hope you enjoyed the video. Enjoy this little summer of love and enjoy this moment here before Venus goes retrograde on 23 July. You know, get finished with all of the relational stuff. If there's little loose ends that you want to wrap up or things you're looking to do, because Venus will go retrograde, then Mercury goes retrograde, and then we're really into a review phase until really September, into mid-September. So keep that in mind, and you can always go to my website, sjanderson144.com. Check out my reading schedule. You can have an astrology reading with me. And other than that, take care. More videos soon. Have a great one. We'll talk really, really soon.